Okay. Hey everybody, I know y'all tired of seeing me this many times in one day, one morning. Lord, I'm trying to get this darn Diddy thing together. Okay. Listen. Okay. I just made a video from BJ Investigates, right? She found out where and how it was worded by you know who? T freaking MZ. TMZ, y'all. TMZ is still trying to spread it so we will all be so the ones that didn't believe it in the first place can still be confused. Okay, look, I'm gonna show. Oh, let me start off right. Hey y'all, welcome to Valentine TV. This reaction is coming from TISA Tales, who is in the courtroom right now listening to everything straight up. But before she went in, she made a video. And I want to show it to y'all in just a second. But look, I also looked at BJ Investigates, right? To see why she would say it was fake news, fake news, fake news. She said it's the way TMZ worded it to confuse us all, and no charges have been dropped. So let y'all hear her, okay? I'm gonna let y'all hear her right quick, okay? Listen. Make sure I got it right.
Dropping charges. No. The prosecutors are not dropping charges, and the prosecutors have not dropped any charges. Okay, that's just false. That's not true. Okay, so charges are these right here: racketeering, conspiracy, ST, force, fraud, coercion. Now, so it says children, but it's not children. Okay, there's no children. Now, why is TMZ saying charges were dropped? Well, other than the fact that I think that Harvey Levin is friends with Mark Garagos, who is on the Two Angry Men podcast together, other than the fact that I think they're friends, and Harvey Levin is just allowing TMZ to run PR for Diddy. Is he getting paid for it? Is he not? Girl, I don't know. He could be doing it for free because that's his friend. I don't know.
All right, y'all. Okay. Y'all heard that, right? So that could be a reason. So now let's see what TISA BJ is hot, boy. Let's see what TISA has to say about it, okay? Here we go.
How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you were TISA Tales, we have recovered.
Sorry. She's coming. I had to put her up top so I can see what y'all saying.
We want to talk about what's going on. First of all, everybody that's anti-Diddy, y'all gonna have to stop living in La La Land. Y'all know I'm the biggest anti-Diddy person. But can we talk? The fact that people are out here acting like the feds dropping the predicate offenses to the RICO Act is not a big deal. Y'all are living in La La Land, and I'm sick of y'all talking down to people, condescending. Y'all, let's sit down and break down what's really going on. And I'm going to give you a real world, truthful answer. Not what you hope it's going to be, not what you want it to be, not what it should be, but what it is. Now, let's talk about what it actually is and what it isn't. Baby, the feds literally just said checkmate, or they gave a legal illusion. And the feds are hoping that they got to have their legal cake and eat it too. But the question we need to talk about is, can they serve it? First of all, let's talk about these condescending people talking about something. They didn't drop the RICO. They just dropped the state charges. Dummy, we know that. The RICO is made up of predicate acts that you can prove. The predicate acts that are right now are whether he trafficked Jane, whether he trafficked Cassie, whether he committed attempted kidnapping, obstruction of justice, aiding and abetting, and arson. Okay? I get the fact that they didn't dismiss RICO, but they dismissed the state charges that were some of the strongest, the predicate acts facts because you need at least two. And the strongest ones that we spent the whole trial listening to testimony over, Capricorn, Cuddy, all these people, those are now removed. I get the fact that you still have Rico, but have we not been arguing with idiots in the comments about whether Jane was a victim, whether Cassie was a victim? Mofos, the Rico is going to be the hardest things to prove. The Rico's the hardest thing to prove, Mofos. What are y'all talking about? God, let's get into this. I'm sick of people. Everybody want to be condescending, want to be the smartest person in the room, but nobody wants to actually talk about reality.
All right. Y'all can see what TISA, look, we have been arguing, agreeing to disagree. People didn't even came on my reaction channel trying to talk junk to me. Man, yes. Rico is the hardest thing to prove, but that is the life thing and it's the federal offenses, okay? TMZ put out an article last night, y'all. Late while some of us was asleep. I know the time is different in different places, but the point of the matter is on the East Coast last night, while we were asleep, that charges have been dropped, right? The charge have been dropped, and then they made it sound like because the evidence is weak and all of this. All they did was, look, the beginning of this video, I played the TMZ thing that came out, okay? I played it. So just rewind it to the beginning. I started it with it, not my talking. All right, just a little bit of talking. But anyway, BJ investigates. I'm going to still see if I can do it just a little bit so I can show y'all also just a little bit more, just a little bit of what TMZ did last night, y'all, while we were sleeping. Look, listen.
Text like Harvey freaking Levin at TMZ. Prosecutors dropping charges. No. The prosecutors are not dropping charges, and the prosecutors have not dropped any charges. Okay, that's just false. That's not true. Okay, so charges are these right here: racketeering, conspiracy, ST, force, fraud, coercion. Now, so it says children, but it's not children. Okay, this is not, there's no children. Now, why is TMZ saying charges were dropped?
Right.
Well, other than the fact that I think that Harvey Levin is friends with Mark Garagos, who is on the Two Angry Men podcast together, other than the fact that I think they're friends, and Harvey Levin is just allowing TMZ to run PR for Diddy. Is he getting paid for it? Is he not? Girl, I don't know. He could be doing it for free because that's his friend. I don't know. It's just aggravating because it's like you can't even blame the YouTubers who run around and then repeat this like not true statement that charges were dropped. There's people in my inbox, in my own personal DMs. Please tell me they didn't drop this. People are reporting they dropped all the charges against Diddy. No, they dropped no charges. All the same charges still remain. He's still being charged with trafficking. He's still being charged with interstate commerce of a person for the purposes of institution, if you know what I mean. And he's also still being charged with racketeering, which is the RICO Act. Those are his charges. Those were pretty much always his charges. Those are still his charges today. The feds didn't drop those charges. He's still charged with RICO, forced labor, institution, those same charges. He is still charged with them. Okay. No charges were dropped.
Okay.
But
so y'all heard that, right? And now we know where the corporate came from to make it seem like if they dropped it, well, she don't want to say drop, but I'm saying drop, like the state charges, yes. But the way TMZ put it like all the charges were dropped. So everybody would be running around all night and all morning talking about it. No. And get me all upset and up early in the morning. Y'all not need to sleep and rest. But anyway, listen, TMZ did this. I should have known. But of course we're gonna run around. We don't know what's going on. We wake up and we hear all this, So no, Rico's still up in there. Let me let TISA finish so we can catch up when she come out that courtroom, okay? All right. Come on, TISA. Okay, let me let her catch up with me.
Again, nobody wants to talk about reality. Yes, the major RICO charge remains, but that's like saying you still have your house after 80% of the inside have burned down. This is not, listen, the feds are taking a huge legal gamble, and I hope to God it pays off. But this is a gamble, and every defense attorney in Diddy's camp is probably making offerings to the Dark Lord because this was a major win. Now, let's also get into this. Now that we've accepted reality, right? Let's talk about why this might be a legal checkmate. Some legal analysts are calling this move a checkmate, and I get it. Because on paper, it looks like the feds just pulled off the rarest play in federal court. They got their cake and they're eating it too. Now, you're like, TISA, what the hell are you talking about? What does this mean? Even though the state charges were dropped, the stories behind them were still told. The jury still heard that witnesses feared arson or physical violence. Allegations of bribes and encrypted, shut it down messages, and all the worst character evidence that would normally be blocked at trial. And because the feds originally included those acts as a RICO predicate crime, they're able to get it all in under the enterprise umbrella. So what's the legal translation? If those state claims had never been on the list, the defense could have shouted irrelevant, presidential, character assassination, and the defense might have won. But by including them early and only dropping them after the jury heard the evidence, the prosecution got everything in. So even those crimes aren't being charged directly. So even though those crimes aren't being charged directly anymore, the emotional stain is still on the record. Right. The jury already heard it and they already felt it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. For me or the others that don't know law like that, the federal people in the court, they had it in there, had Cassie, all of them testified, Jane Doe, all of that, Keith Cuddy, had all of them testify, the state level people, right? And then to put it in the jury's mind so they still heard it, they still saw the tapes, they still, all of this, went through all of that. So at the end, they dropped it. They dropped the state part, right? And kept the RICO part, the federal, because that's the federal government. I didn't think of it, but that's the federal government, not the state, right? When no state government in there to prosecute nothing. But anyway, now they can drop it, but it's still in the jury's mind. Like it's in mind. It's still right here. What the beatings, the freaking Capricorn Clark saying that he held her at Pow Point to take her to Kid Cuddy's house. The policeman that got on the stand and said, yeah, he saw Combs and them SUV in the driveway of Cuddy's house. Him chasing Cuddy. Cassie hadn't traded herself in for Capricorn Clark, and Capricorn saying, yeah, she looked back and he was beating her, the Jane Doe stuff, the all of that. it's still in the mind of the jury. So I have to get my mind straight because I'm not a legal eagle, as TISA say. But so now all they have to do, so the defense can't go up there and say and talk about the state crimes anymore. They can't even go up and argue. We ain't got a paper trail to this. We ain't got a paper trail. Can't do none of that. They got to stick to the RICO. Stick to the RICO. So we're sticking to the federal charges only. And they may if I hope they got it written down. So if Trump does pardon Diddy, then they can wait till Trump's out of office and grab him again, okay, with some more, because they didn't give all of it. Even the state part of it at the beginning, they still didn't give the whole hand, just in case Trump pardoned Diddy. They got to keep some. All right, let's see what the end of it, y'all. I'll say, okay.
And that doesn't go away. So yeah, it's checkmate. Maybe. Now, some legal minds are saying this was expert level strategy, a chess move, a trap. They didn't need a conviction of the little stuff. They just needed it in the story. But let's just play realistic devil's advocate. What if the jury needs more than feelings? What if the defense lawyer gets up on their closing and says, yeah, people might have felt, yeah, this might have happened, but that's not illegal and the government's not charging it. So how could this really be bribery? How could this really be well, it's not bribery staying. How can it really be arson? How can it really be kidnapping? How can it really be aiding and abetting when the government's not even charging that? And they will have a good case to make. Because if he tried to burn somebody's car, where's the arson charge? If they believed it, they would have charged it, and then they would have rested their case. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is dangerous, because if the prosecution, right, doesn't walk the jury to the water, the jury may not drink it. It's not enough to make them feel something. You've got to connect the emotional dots to the legal outcome, or risk losing them in silence.
At least two.
Again, you guys, this was surgical, and I have 100% faith and belief in the prosecution. No doubt. But you can't win a trial just by bleeding out vibes. You still got to land the conviction. And if the jurors start asking, why weren't those things charged? It opens the door for doubt. Strategic genius or legal sleight of hand. Either way, the feds just bet big. And now we have to wait to see if the jury bites. Again, the charges the feds actually dropped.
But they can say, like, the charges that are on the paper that the jury gets, but it's still gonna say, did they prove this? Did they prove this? Did they prove, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, guilty, not guilty. Yes, no, whatever. Whatever the document says, I don't know. I say guilty, not guilty. Did they prove it? Guilty. Did they prove this? Guilty. Did he buy them sex workers? Guilty. Yeah. Okay. And so let's see.
According to the filings, the acts were grounded, the RICO acts in state one, some of the most damning that we saw, 60% of the testimony hinge around. They were grounded in state law, not federal law. Attempted witness retaliation, attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. These were all state-specific theories being.
And now I'm reading that Diddy demands acquittal on all charges. That's what he's demanding, like, right now. He's not gonna get it. And let's see, let's make sure that's all I see while I got y'all on the horn. He's not gonna get it. TMZ made TMZ, y'all know they've been Diddy's PR for the longest. Since Harvey is friends with Garrett Ghost, the Two Angry Men podcast they do together. So Garrett Ghost tells Harvey, do this, let this leak through, and it leaked through TMZ last night, y'all. But it made it look like they made it sound so bad. Had me shaking this morning. I had a headache. Made me shake, but no. Diddy asking for acquittal now. The judge ain't gonna give him acquittal. He wouldn't even give him bail. So the jury has to do now is go back there. Well, they off today. So the jury won't hear any of the arguments today. They ain't even there. Okay? My God, today. TMZ is so freaking dirty. I don't see how they'll see it. They still there because they dirty. But the point of the matter is, that's where all of this confusion came from, y'all. All this confusion came from that. Instead of just shutting up and letting us find out through the court. You know what I'm saying? And not to, so they won't confuse everybody. Now we back fussing again about it. Not like fussing. Just
used to support the larger federal RICO charge. Okay? Why that matters and why it's not what it looks like. These weren't the only charges in the indictment. The core federal charges do still remain RICO, federal sex trafficking, obstruction, and firearm possession. It still remains. So even though the government streamlined the predicate acts, they kept the federal infrastructure strong. They're narrowing the legal battlefield and they're not walking away from it. Again, you can say, let me just run it over how the feds got their cake and ate it too. Here's again why it got so clever. By including those state-based acts in the original indictment, they got the court to admit testimony and evidence about those events, even though those acts aren't on the final jury checklist. The jury has already heard the witnesses' stories, seen the patterns of violence, coercion, and control, and absorbed the emotional weight of those events. That evidence is now baked into the jury's understanding of Diddy's character and alleged criminal enterprise, even if it's not tied to the checkbox on their final verdict form. That's why some analysts are saying this is a checkmate. The jury got dirty and the government ditched the legal clutter. Again, it's calculated risk. The feds are betting the jury will connect the emotional dots to legal charges. That even without labeling kidnapping, the story still screams RICO. But that's the risk. Because if you don't walk the jury to where they need to be, how will they know where to sit? Legal emotion doesn't always translate to legal logic, guys, and this move cuts both ways. Again, it's a brilliant trap if it works. But if the jurors get confused or think the government overreached, then retreated, it could all unravel. The jury heard the horror stories, but now the prosecution has to make that mean something. Otherwise, all they did was set a stage for reasonable doubt, and that is a gamble.
wow.
Because let's not forget, you guys, the jury is not made of robots. Let's not forget for a second that this is a federal trial. Forget all the expert takes, the conspiracy breakdowns, the people that want to be the smartest person in the room. Because at the end of the day, 12 people just like you and me and he and she and they and them are sitting in a jury box. Not lawyers, not prosecutors, human beings. People with emotions, confusion, personal baggage, and opinions they don't even know they have yet. The government, again, is hoping that by removing the kidnapping, the arson, the sex trafficking under New York law, that the case will feel cleaner and simpler. Okay.
Y'all. Whew. They didn't just make me tired early. Okay. So I know TISA be back out for lunch. Okay, TISA be back out for lunch. She is in the courtroom. That's why I follow her with my court cases. Even though I'm checking out everybody to see what everybody else was saying, like, because of what happened overnight. But as far as the court, I go to TISA for that part. Okay, if y'all didn't know that. Yes, I do react to her. Because she is boots on the ground inside the court. Can see, hear. And I know, I just been knowing her for almost 4 years. All right, so here we go. Let's see.
Okay. Now we're going to give them a clean legal map. A RICO, trafficking, obstruction. It's easy, right? But real people don't think in legal cleanup language. We're not dealing with robots who neatly sort out predicate acts and venue law. We're dealing with people who second guess themselves. People who think, wait, they said he tried to burn a car. Why didn't they charge that? And then those questions bubble up. Doubts start to form. Not always out loud, sometimes just silently in a juror's gut. And if just one juror clings to that doubt, you could be looking at a mistrial or worse, acquittal.
Please.
The human mind doesn't separate emotion from structure, you guys. Most people just hear a horrific story, then get confused when the final charges don't match what they remember. That mismatch, that's where defense attorneys live. And boom, reasonable doubt. I can't stress this enough. The feds are banking on one thing, that the jury will connect emotional dots to the legal elements, even without labels. This is a huge gambling, a huge gamble, because social media hasn't even been able to do that. Because humans don't naturally do that. They want clarity. They want a through line. They want charges to match the horror. When that doesn't happen, they may start thinking the story is exaggerated, or worse, the government overreached and is now walking back. So the feds might have made the case legally cleaner. And all the political pundits that are so smug and they're saying, I get it. But in doing so, they've put all their trust in how well 12 strangers can emotionally and mentally bridge the gap of domestic violence, coerce, fraud, and control. And that's not law. That's psychology. And psychology is messy. It's unreliable and it's impossible to predict. This isn't a legal gamble. It's a human one. Because if the jurors don't make the mental leap from story to statute, the whole thing could collapse under its own emotional weight. The government may have played it smart, and I am praying they have. I feel they have. But the question now is, will the jury play along? Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Please, y'all. Uh-oh, sorry, y'all.
Yo.
That's my friend Keish. Meet Keish. Wait a minute, y'all. Sorry about that. Let me move it. Let me go back. Sorry. Okay.
Hey, what's up?
Okay. Now. Alright. So what I was gonna say. It's like I don't even want to look at Harvey. So like I said, TMZ is the one that's got us out here looking out, talking, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, the same case remains. It's just chopped off. That's like cook. Well, I'm vegan, so I don't even eat meat, but I used to. But you cut the fat off. That way you only have the meat, the meat. So that's what they did. They just cut the fat off, which was the state part. Now they only have to explain about the RICO. They only have to explain about the RICO, okay? So let's all agree to disagree and not fuss. Don't be rude to people, please. All right? And don't come over here being rude. I'm just asking. All right, thank y'all, and I will see y'all in a few minutes after I see TISA, okay? All right, bye, y'all.